So, it's the 23rd of Shvat, 5779. One of our regulars, Dolores, lost her brother, so we're going to learn today in memory of Yecheskel Natan ben Alexander Zishe. May his soul have an aliyah, neshama. We are in Sefer Shmuel Aleph, in Bet, right? Chapter 2, Pasuk Gimel, and we are in the middle of Chana's, and there are three ways of describing Chana's what. So it's a song. It's the song of Chana. It's the prayer of Chana, the second prayer of Chana, Tfilat Chana, and it's the prophecy of Chana. Okay, which means that every word here has those. Every sentence here have those three triple meaning, the three attributes at least. So we are only on the third pasuk, and this happens to be one of the most popular psukim in Chassidut, in Kabbalah, mentioned several times in the Gemara as well. It's a popular pasuk. So we're going to try to dig in and see several meanings over there, several layers, all delicious. So we did read it last time, sort of briefly. Al tarbu tedabru gvoa gvoa. Just the simple meaning is those boors. Those are who are people who are not watching their manners, talking high, very high, very shooting their words, shooting their mouths, and yetzeh atak mipichem. They're talking all kinds of bad. With bad meanings, with bad language on Am Yisrael and on God, and then you should know that ki kel deot avaye velo nitkanu alilot, that God has the ability. The pshat is, according to Rashi, that He has the ability to know what's in your heart. So you can come and talk very, very highly, and be a politician and say all kinds of words you don't mean, but you should know that God understands everything and knows exactly what's in your heart, and don't think that it goes unnoticed. That's the pshat. Now, this pasuk in the and we also mentioned the prophecy part, that it's talking about Nebuchadnezzar, about the time that the destruction of the first temple, how Nebuchadnezzar was known to be boasting and talking against God, and at his end is known. He fell apart and was really destroyed, but not before he destroyed the first temple. So that was the prophecy part. The underlying understanding of this pasuk is very much connected to it describes to the relationship of Am Yisrael and God. It's a very simple pasuk, seemingly. It's describing the relationship between Am Yisrael and God. How so? The single most holy object is the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant, Aron HaEdut, right, was in the Holy of Holies. And what is the word Edut? Means covenant, but it also means testimony. It's testifying that there is a covenant. It's a testimony, a living testimony that there is a connection between us and God. How so? There is, on top of the ark, there are two angels, kruvim, right? Mm-hmm. Golden kruvim, right? that they are facing each other. They have baby faces, right? They're facing each other with their wings touching each other, and describing the relationship of us with God. We're looking at God, God looking at us. We cater to each other, and that's the Ark of the Covenant. Now, Edut is written in the Torah several times, but it's written with and without a vav. Okay, Edut is the same letters as the ot, right? The ot, which is the word here in our pasuk, which means opinions, which means points of view, which means different types of knowledge. There are different types of connections. Dat is a connection. So edut and connection, and the ot is connected. So there are two ways, 2 points of view to the ot, 2 ways to look at our relationship with God. We will start with the basic, with a quote from the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Eliezer, I believe, that Gdola De'ah, the De'ah, the connection with God, is very big, it's very amazing, because it's sitting between 2 names. What do you mean sitting between 2 names? If you look at the pasuk, what do we say? Kel, this is the name of God. Then we say De'ot, right? That's the opinions, that's the ways of acting, or the way of thinking. And then Avaye, right? That's another name of God. So you have the name of God, De'ot, the name of God. So between the 2 names of God, you have those opinions, those De'ot. What are those De'ot? So the Gemara is saying that the name, we know that each name of God has a different attribute. It's a different way of managing the world. The word Kel, the name of God, Kel, is more of a judgment. It describes God's judgment. What is judgment? Judgment means like a judge nowadays. You know, you did something wrong, you get off the head, you know. You did something good, you get a reward. Very basic tally, you know, debits and credits, whatever the bottom line is, that's what you get, and that's judgment. And the name of God, Yud Kei Vav Kei, which is Kel De'ot Avai, right? The second one is representing mercy. Mercy is, you don't really deserve it, I'm going to give it to you anyway because I'm good. When God created the world, He used those 2 elements, those 2 functions, those 2 ways of handling us, handling the world, judgment and mercy. And it's all about the mix. What's more dominant? So in the beginning, the idea was that the dominant one will be judgment. But then God realized, and then God realized, that's not that He didn't realize before, it's just that was the plan, to the way to achieve dominant judgment is through exile and through the other plans of God would not work, because we're just not as God is not visible. God is not evident here in this world unless you look carefully. You know, to the naked eye, common man, they don't see God. It's going to be very difficult to act like a mensch, to do the right thing. So the judgment will kick in very quickly, and the world is not going to last, 2.5 days, which we saw several times. As soon as Adam was given a little bit of leeway, he tripped, and in the world, when they got down to earth, as soon as something didn't go right, one brother killed the other. I mean, it's right away. The world couldn't last. So God mixed more of the mercy. In the pot, you put a little bit more of the potatoes, so you have more of a potato leek. So you have more of a merciful type of a situation now, and the world is able to exist. That's one point of view. Now we're saying there are 2 points of view. So the other one is going to be when Mashiach comes. When Mashiach comes, every stone is going to scream and going to declare, God is here, this is exactly what happened. We'll be able to see God with our naked eyes. So then you can change the mix, and the mix is going to be more of a judgment one, because the world can exist. Once you see, once the cash is in front of you, you know how to act. It's much easier to fight the temptation. So that is a description of our relationship with God, description of how God created the world, which is mentioned in the Gemara. Now, in Chassidut, in Kabbalah, there are two other explanations, really awesome ones, and there are reams of books written in the past 300 years to explain it, and we'll just say it briefly. Kel deot avaye, God has two types of, that is created two points of view. What does that mean? So, we here live in a world, and our understanding, our basic understanding is the world exists. That this is real for us. Reality is us, is what we see, is the physical world, it's what's going on. Now, where is God? I don't know. Have you seen him lately? Have you heard him lately? It's not, we don't feel it, we don't see it. So for us, what's real is the world, what's not real is God. And when we describe how God created the world, we are saying God created the world yesh me'ayin, something from nothing. Implying that the something is here. That's what God created. Before that was what? Was nothing. What was nothing was God there, right? So God is nothing. So yesh me'ayin means God is nothing. Lemala ayin, velamata yesh. And here, down here, there is the reality. So the reality is here. So that's yesh me'ayin. This is the point of view of the people, of the creatures, of the world. Now there is another point of view, the point of view of God. From God's point of view, He is real. He is the real thing. We are the nothings, right? He is everywhere. He is everything. He made it so we fool ourselves so we can't see it. So it's it's like a phantom for us. We think that we see something, but we really see something else. We think we see something, but it's not what we see. It's really something else. So, from God's point of view, lemala yesh, above, in where He is the real existence, and down here is nothing. So, when He created us, He created nothing from something. So, those are right. Create ayin miyesh. So, these are the 2 points of view on how the world exists. Where is the important thing? Where is nothing and where is something? Our job is to make ourselves nothing, so the real something can be revealed here. Now, only one human being so far, Moshe Rabbeinu, was able to peek through that direction, the other direction, the God's direction of the binoculars, and was able to see that's really up there is something and here is nothing. That's how He told us. But when Mashiach comes and God reveals Himself, then we will see right away that, wow, what we looked at, this chair, this desk, this cup of tea, that's really godliness, all kinds of forms of it, and we'll be able to see it from God's point of view. But now, it's yesh me'ayin. We are it, and God is the nothing. So that's one explanation, the most common explanation in Chassidut to this pasuk, ki kel deot havai.
So if Moshe saw reality and this is nothing, when he was on Mount Nebo, he should have not wanted to go in there, so he should have wanted to go to Shemayim where it was something.
Absolutely, it's tzaddikim in general have this urge to go to the real something and to live this world. It's a really hard job to fight off the urge to go to the, it's like when you have a desire that you just can't control it, some depending on how big we are, sometimes the chocolate cake, sometimes other things, but you just can't control it. So it's way, way, way stronger when a tzaddik, or when it's someone who is able to understand it, sees the real thing, sees God. It's called ratzo. You want to come out of yourself and go up to God. But then there is what God really wants. He created us not so we'll go back. He created us so we stay here and do what He wants. So that's called shov, stay here. All right. So you're absolutely right. It was he had to tear himself from that situation and come back down to do God's work. Indeed. The second explanation is also very interesting. It rides a little bit on what Rashi says, that God knows what's in your heart. God knows everything. God has the ability to see what's in our heart, past, present, future. So He will know what will happen. So in His point of view, there is nothing new here. He transcends time, He transcends place. He sees everything in one shot, He knows. He knows what will happen in a second. He knows that you're going to blink now, that you're going to smile now, that that I'm going to scratch. He knows everything. So that's His point of view. That's from God's perspective. From our perspective, we have free choice. I'm choosing now to move this glass from here to there. I made a decision. I didn't know a minute ago that I'll make this decision, but God knew. But I made a decision. When I made the decision, I moved it. So those two, now how can those two live together? You'll have to be God to understand, really. I mean, there are a lot of explanations of how free will works with the ultimate knowledge of God, past, present, and future. It's not for now. It's a philosophical question that's dealt with. But the point is that there are 2 points of view. We have our point of view and His point of view. His point of view, I know everything. And our point of view, we're making a free will decision. Now, this explanation is hinted in the pasuk. If you look carefully, we have one word in the pasuk that's written one way and read another way. The word right after kikel deot avaye velo nitkenu alilot. The word lo, and it's written lamed aleph as no, that kel deot avaye, and there is no really the human being does not have this kind of a way to know that kind of a knowledge. That kind of knowledge to know the future, the human being doesn't have. So it's written as law. Who knows the future? Who knows what's going on? That's not us. Velo. It's not. But there is also velo to Him, and He does know. That is the level of us where we think that we know what we're doing. We think that we're making a decision. So the one that we read is what we are. We have the ability to decide what will happen. But what's written, what's real, is that we really don't. And we really, God really the only one that knows what will happen. So those are the explanations of Chassidut, of Kabbalah, of the secrets of Torah that are mentioned here in this beautiful song of Hannah.
When was this written? Was this whoever wrote this?
Shmuel wrote it.
Shmuel
wrote this whole book.
And so he knew.
He wrote.
He knew to interpret the law both ways when he was writing it.
Of course, because all of the layers that Hannah laid in her prayer, Shmuel was at the level, in some respects, at the level of Moshe. So Moshe actually was able to peak. Shmuel was not, but he was very high up, like the second highest prophecy level was Shmuel. So when Hannah was prophesying, Shmuel understood it. Shmuel got it. It's a different language, She speaks to him in a different language. So that is Pasuk Gimel. Let's move on to Pasuk Dalet, to the fourth Pasuk. Keshet giborim chatim v'nichshalim azru chai. The bow of the mighty going to fall apart, going to break, and those who are weak and fall and tripping and not able to even walk straight, they are going to gather strength and gather might. Meaning, the basic understanding is that really God is the best implementer of socialism. When someone is going too high, God is chopping his head off a little bit. That's why the world is a galgal, is a wheel. Sometimes you're up, sometimes you're down, and as long as you hold on to it, you progress, you move forward. So there are weak people and there are strong people, and those who pray and ask God for help, they have a chance that God is going to help them. And those who are talking too high up and think that they are it, eventually going to have their head decapitated and chopped a little. So that's the pshat. That's the basic understanding. She said it again as part of seeing how she was down and Pnina was up. She didn't have any children and Pnina had 10, and now it all turned around. And she have children and Pnina is losing hers. That's the basic understanding of the events that happened to her. Now, the prophecy part of it, she's talking about the time of the Greek Empire. The Greek Empire were using a lot of bows and arrows, and they were mighty and very strong, but they faltered when they came to fight the Maccabees, right, the Hashmonaim, and eventually they asked that this is what we said on Hanukkah, that we were the few versus the many, the weak versus the strong, right? So this is what she was referring to in terms of prophesying for the future. And the third part, which is which is giving us an understanding, an inner understanding of how God works, she's saying as follows. This is from the Mincha Ketana, is mentioning very, very interesting, that there are events and there are moves in the world that are against nature. That are from totally opposite. You thought you're walking into one thing and it's all understood that this is what will happen next, and suddenly everything changed, everything turned, a landslide to the other side. And the fact that those things happen gives us an advice and says, you can do it. You can cause these landslides. You can cause these, the opposite of the logical reaction to happen if you are going to praise God, daven to God. And this is why we're reading it in Rosh Hashanah, to sort of train us, guys. This is the time to daven. This is the time to pray. This is the time to try to influence what will happen. So even though there are, all kinds of decrees and all kinds of things written up there, with proper prayer, with proper praise of God, we can change the course of history. That's what she was saying. And then she continued, Sveim, the same line, Sveim balechem niskaru re'evim chadelu. And I'm going to stop in the middle of this pasuk just to, because the next part of the pasuk is a shift already to a different type, a different ending, a different type of prayer, a different type of song. So Sveim balechem niskau avim chadelu, that people who are typically full, that they have food, they have sustenance, they're riding high, they're living the life, and living the dream, they have everything. Eventually, if they don't do the right thing, they're going to have to sell their food in order to earn a living. They're going to get down to to bread and bread and water at home, God forbid. And those who are hungry stop to be hungry. They basically turn around. Now, the prophecy part of it is she's talking about the time of Haman, of Purim, where you had the feast of Haman, the feast of Achashverosh, where everybody was eating and, everybody was enjoying life and going high. And as a result of that, the sons of Haman and Haman himself, felt that they can squash the Jews, and because they're high up, and they ended up, being food themselves to the birds, and the Jews who were stripped of their rights and their the right to live, the right to exist. Does Israel have the right to exist? This was a question then too. Does the Jews have the right to exist? It's a lifelong, age-old question. So we became legitimate by the grace of God, by the blessing of God. Now, the next part of the pasuk shifts. It shifts in a way that until now, when we talked about the prophecy part, there were specific events. Greek, Nebuchadnezzar, Egypt, all kinds of specific events that, not Egypt, the destruction of the first temple, the Hashmonaim. We had several specific events in the future that will happen. Now, it shifts to a more general prophecy, a prophecy that has to do with all the Jews at all times. And this is the reason we are reading it in Rosh Hashanah. And this is the reason, says the Radak, that Hannah was inducted into the Hall of Fame of the prophets. She became a prophet for all Am Yisrael because of the ending of the next five psukim and this half of pasuk. So it says, Ada karai yalda shiva v'rabat banim umlala. So when this whole change going to happen, so this is going to happen in the future. So before we're talking about the future, let's just the basic explanation, the pshat. She's talking about, and we mentioned it last time, I think, or the week before, that she was born and she able to have a child, and then she able to have 5 children, and as she was having children, Pnina lost each one of her births caused the death of 2 of Pnina's kids, and when she got to the 5th child, Pnina realized she's going to lose the last 2 children, so she came to Hannah and prayed to her and said, you take them, you educate them according to the way you think you see fit, because it seems that I'm not doing a good job. And they became her children. So she had 5 children that she gave birth to and 2 children that she raised. So that's 7. So these are the 7 here. And the one that had a lot of children, Rabat Banim, a lot of kids, she became, a poor case, a sorry case.
No, but how could you justify Penina's kids being taken away from her to punish Penina? That means you're making pawns of innocent children.
So I don't know the calculation of God and which neshamot He sent over there and for how long and what purpose. I don't know. I'm sure He had a good reason. It's the same.
It just doesn't seem merciful.
It's the same question that you have. I mean, any child that passes away, God forbid, and unfortunately they are. How come a child dies? It's a question that I don't think it's something we can answer right now. But the point is that the world is does have the mix of judgment in it. It's not that God took away the judgment and just all mercy. It's not Alice in Wonderland here, you know. Alice in Wonderland. In Israel, it's Alisa. Alice in Wonderland. It's not. Sorry. It's not all fun and dance. So, you know, there is some judgment. Now, how it's being applied, not for us to decide, not for us to dictate, not for us to justify. We all, you know, we want mercy for everybody all the time.
It's funny you say Alice in Wonderland. 35 years ago in the Chabad Yeshiva in Sfat, we had the big billboard of the Rebbe. One of the students there said, "You may think that we are in Alice in Wonderland here."
Yeah. So that's the pshat. Now, what is the prophecy part? The prophecy part is that we're talking about exile. The Jews in exile are called barn, akara. We are the women, right? God is the female. We are the male. God is the male. We are the female, and we are barn. What does it mean? We barn, barren. I'm sorry. Why? Because we are in exile and we're unable to produce children. Which children? Not physical children, but love and fear of God. This is called the children of the fruits of our toil. And we're not able because of exile, because we can't see God, we can't see Bet HaMikdash, we don't have access to spirituality as much, so we're not able to generate it. So that's why we are called akara. We don't have children. We're not able to. And those who are able to flourish, you know, the goyim, that people who are looking at the world as, I can accomplish, I can go, I can do, is, you know, eventually when the truth comes out, they end up on the bottom, they end up like Pnina. That's the prophecy part. Now, the Radak, very interesting Rishon, he was born 55 years after Rashi passed away in the year 1160. And he wrote his pirush on the Tanakh, and so here on this, right in smack in the middle of this pasuk, right in these words, he's giving this whole explanation how, because of this type of tefillah, this is what got Hannah, as we said, inducted or accepted as a legitimate prophet for all Am Yisrael for all time. And this, he says that in this pasuk, and he's called it the song. And he's a song, but it's a prayer, but it's a song. It says that's where it says that all of the everything in the world depends on God, and he's in charge and is functioning and is managing and monitoring all the big details and the small details, everything, the klal and the prat, the general ideas and the individual hairs that move on our head, you know, or lose our head, you know. So every single thing is being managed by him. And again, the idea that we have to pray to him, Hannah is saying, like I did. I didn't have children, and I prayed, so you can do it too. She's basically giving us the strength, the advice and the strength and the ability to really do it and to believe that we can do it. And this is why we're reading this in Rosh Hashanah. And they say that one of the future events that she's mostly describing here is the coming of Mashiach, when we're no longer going to be barren. We will be able to have children all the time. We'll be able to have the love and fear of God, and all of the other nations are going to realize that they've been missing the point all along. Now, there is a very interesting saying in the Gemara that there are 3 keys that God is handling himself. You know, there are keys to, sometimes God is sending messengers, he's sending an angel, he's sending a force of nature, there's different things that God is assigning to different forces, lower down forces. But he keeps 3 keys for himself, and he's handling him all on his own, without any intermediary. And those keys are childbirth. Somebody has a child, that's directly from God. There's no storks, there's nobody in between. And parnasa, sustenance, rain, and tchiyat hametim, and the reviving of the dead, which is the next pasuk, very interesting pasuk, which we'll talk about in a second. So these are the 3 things that she's mentioning in her prophecy. And again, the rabbis are taking that and say, okay, this is the rule. She revealed a lot of secrets of Torah in her prophecy, in her song. She really changed Kabbalah in a very substantial way by revealing these mechanisms of which how God runs the world. Now the next pasuk Vav, was the inspiration for the prayer of in Rosh Hashanah of Mi yechia u'mi yamut. It's what is the time? No, this is before that. Unetana Tekef. It's a retardation. Unetana Tekef, right? That was the next few words is the inspiration for it, and we're reading it in Haftarah right before Musaf, right before we're saying Unetana Tekef. Hashem emitu mechayeh. God is giving life. Is taking life and is giving life, and Morich Ol Vayal, he's throwing someone into the depth of Gehenom, of hell, and he is able to lift them up. Now, this is a very interesting. It's very strong language, and this is the prayer that Hannah had specifically for the ancestors of Shmuel. As we said early on in the book, Shmuel was a Levite. Elkanah was a Levite, Shmuel was a Levite, he was a Levi. And he was from the great-great-grandsons of Korach. Korach was also a little bit of a prophet, not the prophet for the generations, but to his own benefit, thought it's his own benefit. And he saw that Shmuel is going to come from his offspring, right? So he's going to come from him. So he needs to be around. So that's what gave him the chutzpah and the strength to go against Moshe Rabbeinu and to start a fight, because he thought, I'm going to win. Because Shmuel, if I'm not around, Shmuel is not going to come. So I have something to my blood, to my to my stature. So that's what took him against Moshe. Hannah felt better.
Did he also know that Moshe's offspring were going to be off the Dror?
I don't know. I don't think he was not. Again, he had a very tunnel vision about himself. He didn't really see the big picture. Had he saw the big picture, if he seen the big picture, he wouldn't have done what he did. Now, his sons did tshuva. They were not with him really all the way to the end. They were swallowed, but they didn't die. They were swallowed alive, so to speak, and he was not admitted to Olam Haba, to Gan Eden, but they did. They had a special arrangement because they had some feeling of tshuva, some thoughts of tshuva as they were going down. Now, Hannah felt that because of Shmuel, this whole terrible thing with Korach happened. Because had Shmuel didn't see Korach wouldn't see Shmuel, he wouldn't have done what he did. So she felt bad and she prayed for his sons who were still in sort of limbo stage, not in Gan Eden proper, but like right outside in a not in hell either, you know, so in some what?
Purgatory.
Yeah, somewhere in the on deck, in between. So she prayed to lift them up from that state and to free their neshama. So that's what she said. God is throwing people into Sheol, into hell, into the depth of the other side, and He's able to lift them back up. And this is that's what the rabbi says, that she prayed that those the sons of Korach, the ancestors of Shmuel, are going to be redeemed.
You said this is where Mechayim Eitim comes from?
This is that's
Mechayim Eitim, isn't it that when the Mashiach comes?
So let's talk about Mechayim Eitim a little bit, okay? So the ultimate revival of the dead is going to be when Mashiach comes, right? But it happened once before. When did it happen? It happened with Yecheskel, right? Yecheskel had a vision, and in the vision he saw a valley full of bones, dry bones. People died a long time ago. They were just bones, and they all rised up and rose, and there was the revival of the dead. That was one of his visions. So there is a discussion in the Gemara. Was it a real vision, or was it like just make-believe vision? Did it happen or didn't happen? Were those people real or not? And you have several opinions. Some say no. The interesting one is they mention when Yecheskel is mentioning that when they rode, they sang the song, the praise of God. So there is a discussion also, which song, what did they pray, how did they praise God? So Rabbi Yeshua says that they said this pasuk, Hashem emitu mechayeh. This pasuk that Hannah repeated here, this is the pasuk that they sang, those gentlemen that Yecheskel brought to life. Now, there is another opinion that those people were real. And there is an interesting thing. One gentleman, Yehuda ben Beter, I think, is saying in the Gemara that I am from those people. And the tefillin that I'm wearing, I got from my great-grandfather, who was from those people who rose up as a result of Yecheskel's vision. So, interesting, that this... So, the point is that it happened before. At least according to some, it happened really, and obviously if Yehuda ben Beter says that I'm one of them, you got to believe him, He was a tzaddik, a tana, not like one of us that says, it's me, So it happened for real. So she was predicting it, and she was, because Yecheskel lived several hundred years after Hannah. And so that's part. We're gonna end with another. We're gonna end with another Tchiyat HaMetim story, more of a bedtime story. We almost finished, but it's an amazing story. So Elisha, the prophet Elisha, also in the future, right? And the reason I'm mentioning it is because this pasuk is mentioned in the Gemara in connection with him. He had a helper. He had a servant, a guy that worked for him. His name was Gehazi. And you all remember the story of the woman that Shunamit, right? That was helping Elisha when he was walking around the country to teach people. And whenever he passed by, he needed a place to stay. So she gave her attic for him to sleep in, to be in. And then she was asking for a child, and Elisha gave her a blessing, and she got a child. And she told Elisha, "Don't fool me, don't give it to me for temporary, When the kid was, I think, was 15, was a child, a teenager, I think, he died. And so she came running to to Elisha, I told you to revive, don't, what are you playing games with me? So his helper pushed her. His helper, Gehazi, the guy that was managing, pushed her. Now, he pushed her in a very not modest way, in the chest. He pushed her. He was not, this Gehazi is also one of the guys that was not admitted to Olam Haba because of three things. Number one, he would sit outside of the tent where Elisha is teaching, and when people would pass by and say, oh, the head guy, the second in command is right outside, that means nothing is happening inside. And he would basically let people, not come to Elisha. He would push people away by his presence outside. Oh yeah, nothing's happening, So that's one strike. Second strike is the way he was acting with the Shunamite, pushing her like that. Apparently, it was something that he was doing with a lot of women that way. And a third thing, and that's one of the main ones, he didn't believe in Tchiyat HaMetim. He didn't believe in the revival of the dead. So when this Shunamite came to him and says, my son is dead, so Elisha gave him the staff and said, run and don't talk to anybody on the way, and put the staff on the child, right? If somebody asks you something, don't answer. He walks and people are asking him, where are you going? So he said, wow. That's how we mention it. Wow, I'm going to revive the dead. As if like, I'm going to walk on air, It's was laughing at it. And he put the staff on the child and nothing happened. So Elisha was really upset with him. There is another story which I don't have time to, but eventually he got his he got what he deserved. But the point is that God, and she's mentioning it because she had a child, and Pnina is also having a situation with the children. So she's mentioning it. God is creating God has the ability and the calculations of who to give life to and who not, who to raise, who to let fall, to let down. So that's what she mentioned here in relationship to anyway.